All right, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Penguin Nation Fans Podcast. As always, I am your host, Gino Leone. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Whitetown Nation. And don't forget to check out my written work over on Redshirt Sports. Youngstown State dominated today at home on homecoming, defeating Murray State 51-17 in what was a game that was really never close. Murray State jumped out to a 7-0 lead to start the ball game, but YSU ripped off a 38-0 run. And then the game was over from there. Youngstown State was able to get a lot of young guys in this game, which I thought was encouraging. Defense, I thought Graydon Rowland stepped up. He finished with 7 total tackles and really thrived in that linebacker role in replacing Preston Zandier because he was out due to injury. Bo Brungard had another phenomenal performance. He building his resume even more for the Walter Payton Award. He caught a touchdown pass, a 50-yard touchdown pass. It also was efficient throwing the ball. He was 22 of 25 for 248 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then running, he had 15 carries for 64 yards and 2 touchdowns. So Bo Brungard, the full kitchen sink. We know how special he is. He made an unbelievable throw to Flash Wilson. Some people are saying that's probably the best throw he's made at YSU. It was perfect. It hit Wilson right in stride, and Wilson was able to make an adjustment. And shout out to Kylon Wilson. Shout out to Flash, man. He's been a difference maker. He actually recorded the longest play in school history today, going for a 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. So shout out to him. He also was productive as a receiving threat. He had 5 receptions for 89 yards and then that one big over-the-top touchdown. We know his top-end speed and athleticism. A couple other players I want to shout out here before we continue here on the Penguin Nation post-game report. I thought Donald Barksdale, he's a young running back. He came in late in the game. He had 4 carries for 44 yards. He clearly has some burst. He's shifty. He can bring a lot of different things. So I thought that was encouraging to see. Overall, I was pleased with. It looks like we have a lot of depth on this team, and maybe in years past, I don't know if you could have said that, but I feel like I'm confident in a lot of our second stringers that if someone were to go down, I feel confident that those guys would step in and thrive in those roles. Another guy on defense, Weston Sturzinger, he's a freshman. He was a 3-star recruit, I believe. He had 5 total tackles, so he stepped in right into that role and sort of thrived. And this was just a complete domination from the Penguins, and this is what needed to happen. Look, we knew what Murray State was heading into this game. This is not a great football team. Now they were at 0-7. They were just completely collapsing. So this is what we needed. This was a get right game for us, coming off of a big win versus Illinois State. And by the way, Illinois State captured a signature victory today versus South Dakota, so that's going to look good on our resume. But we've done a nice job of responding these last 2 weeks to the hole that we dug ourselves in. And now the big game's coming. The big game is next week versus North Dakota State. And I'm not saying that we have to go in there and win, because it's extremely hard to do. And if it was easy to do, people would do it all the time, right? I mean, South Dakota State, a phenomenal program, goes in there and struggles in that environment because it's so hard to win on the road there. Something else I want to point out is that this could be a game where YSU's offense is able to put some points on the Bison. I think the key to the game is going to be on that defensive end. And what's encouraging about today is that our defense, I felt, took a step in the right direction. Yes, it was a terrible opponent. No offense to Murray State, but we took a step in the right direction and showed some consistency right after that slow start. There wasn't really a letdown outside of when we had some of our backup guys in. Then we got exposed a bit, but I'm encouraged by that performance. I think there's a lot of stuff we can throw at North Dakota State. I hope Jurcic gets creative on offense next week and throws some more trick plays. I would have liked to keep that trick play to Bo Brungard in our back pocket for next week, but we're okay with that. So more final stats here. YSU was 8 of 12 on third down. That was an area that killed us. I think it was 2 weeks ago against North Dakota. Last 2 weeks, we've been phenomenal at converting third down. So those gotta have it downs. That was critical. We outgained Murray State 539 to 271. We had 298 passing yards. Murray State had 192. And then I thought the biggest thing in this game was the rushing battle. We rushed the ball 43 times for 241 yards and 5.6 yards per carry. On the other hand, Murray State, they had just 79 rushing yards on 25 attempts, 3.2 yards per carry. And on top of that, we won the turnover battle. Murray State threw 1 interception. We had 0. So great performance from the boys. I can't wait to get into this North Dakota State preview. I got to go watch the North Dakota State game, South Dakota State game now, and get that preview ready for you guys. So that's going to do it for this edition of the Penguin Nation Fans Podcast. So as always, I am your host, Gino Leone. Make sure to leave the show a 5-star review. This video will be on YouTube, so make sure to smash that subscribe button, smash that like button, and continue to support and show the podcast some love. For now, I'm Gino, and as always, go Gwens.